Let's wait for a few seconds for people to join. Let's see. And I am just waiting. I am waiting for people to join. Michelle, you know where to see comments?
Is it on the side here on the right?
Yeah, on right-hand side, you can see comments.
Great.
So, yeah. I'll manage them, but just so that you know.
Great. I'll keep an eye out.
Okay, I think we should get started. If you have already joined, because we are on different channels, if you have already joined, please feel free to say hi in comments. Say hi, say where you're from, where you're joining from. Or if you already have any questions about your virtual presence, you can start asking them. And what is it that we are going to talk about? Today we are going to talk about, ta-da! I need some music for this, or I should just practice some tan-ta-dan, Zoom presence. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here, for your time and your cool insights that I know you're just about to give. Those of you who don't know Michelle is currently studying at MIT Sloan so that she gets smarter and smarter. And previously she has worked with Google, and before that she was with Atlantic Life. And with Atlantic Life, she was an associate producer. And with Google, as you know, she was communications manager. Yes. And welcome, Michelle. I don't know if anyone else has started asking questions, but I have a lot of questions. So first I will go with my questions. You can keep on asking your questions in the comments, and I will take them as and when I see them. Until then, let's get started.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I cannot wait with my first question. It's, what is presence, Michelle? And why should you be teaching me about presence?
Presence is what we perceive when we, in this case, log on to Zoom. It's what we perceive when we're in the presence of someone else. It's so much more, I think, than just the sum of what you're saying and what you look like. It's how you're communicating. It's how you are when you're not communicating. It's what you're saying in between actually saying anything. And what I think is so interesting right now is that when you walk in the before days, if you walked into someone's house for a big party, you can kind of tell who has amazing presence, who draws people towards them, and who you enjoy being around. And the funny thing is, I think that we actually can see that and recognize that on Zoom too. But on Zoom, it's a new medium for so many of us. And what we might think of as normal presence in real life, in person, we might have to exaggerate or change slightly on video. And love or hate this medium, we're all getting used to communicating in this way. And there's some very simple things that you can do to improve your presence, which once you start doing them, you might notice other people doing too. They're old tricks, many of them. They're tricks that TV stars and news anchors and reporters have been using for a long time. And that's why I'm excited to be talking to you about them. In my former role as a producer at The Atlantic, I helped program and recruit CEOs and mayors and journalists to talk on stage about a host of topics, and then also got to talk to really interesting people about how to improve how they talked when they gave those presentations. And then more recently at Google, I was a communications and public affairs manager, working specifically with Googlers and Google executives to work on how they communicated on TV and in different mediums to different audiences. So that's pretty similar to communicating on Zoom. You're on camera, you can't always see exactly who you're talking to. You might be presenting to one person, but talking to hundreds. And so thinking about how are you showing up and what are you saying, not just in the actual words you are saying, but in how you are on camera. So I'm really excited to be talking this about you.
Oh my God, Michelle, you are I feel really blessed to be talking to you here. And I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you for the difference that you have made for so many people. And I am really excited to know. And by the way, I can say that I'm very proud of Michelle because I feel like I have seen her grow up. She was Refine and Focus alumna, and now she is this awesome, wonderful professional telling CEOs how they should look and how they should talk. Oh my God. Let's go to my next question, which is which you part of it you answered. And if you have anything else to add to it, it is why should we care about Zoom or virtual meeting presence? You did say that, we need to exaggerate certain things and dilute certain things. Let's go to the more detailed one. Or do you want to add anything?
I think that to start by thinking about your question, why should we care about our Zoom presence? I think there are two answers to that. And the first one is in the short term. I think we really can tell when someone is showing up to a meeting or even to a conversation with friends on video and when they really want to be there and when they're invested in the topic. And I think we give off those signals. And you see those signals when you're talking to others. So why should you care? I think because people notice it, because I think it impacts how persuasive you are at work. It impacts how much people want to talk to you in general. But I think it also matters because the world will go back to normal in so many ways. But video conferencing and talking to people in different locations and different countries, that's going to stay. And that might stay in an even bigger way as more of us work remotely than previously for the long term. So many things are going to change. You may be back in an office, but it's very likely, even in my job when I was in the office, I was video conferencing a lot with people in California from New York. So improving your presence in this way is going to be useful no matter what.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on, because I am personally after working for such a long time at home, I am now wondering why do I ever go to office? Why do I can
I miss
connect.
the office.
Yeah. So I am thinking maybe, I will go to office maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week because this saves so much time and I am able to do so much more in life than spending my time in commuting. So you are 100% right that at least for me personally, I feel like this is going to become a standard. And that's why I have a lot of questions. And there is already a question from Katie, but I'm going to hold off that question, Katie, and with my uh, come back to it later on. And right now, my question is, what are three things that we should be doing?
So, to improve your Zoom presence and to make, honestly, Zoom a little bit more enjoyable for you, there are three or more things that you should be doing. And I think the three that really stand out to me are thinking about your background and setting, thinking about your eye contact, and thinking about the energy you bring to a call. One is your background and setting. Making sure that you are in a place that is comfortable for you. I think a lot of us have realized that taking Zoom calls from the same place every day might be nice. At the same time, if you can go, if you're somewhere warm, you can go outside and take a call there. If your employer is comfortable with you taking a video call from your phone on a walk, take advantage of that flexibility to help combat feeling stuck in the same place all day. If you are going to be stuck, like I have so often been, get a chair with a comfortable back. Think about what you want your background to convey. If you are talking in a very casual setting, I think it's nice to be able to have whatever you want in the background. If we're doing something a bit more professional, like this, for instance, you may want to try hiding things in the background that feel a bit less like an office. I have a bed frame and speaker behind me. Hopefully, you can't see them because I'm positioning myself in a way that I'm blocking the pieces of my home that I don't want you to see. If this were just a call with a colleague casually, it would be fine if I took it from wherever. But I think this in particular, being strategic about what is behind you and what do you want to convey. It could be a beloved bookshelf to convey your love of reading. It could be the art that you prize in your home. It could be just a blank wall because you want the attention to be entirely on you. It's also, whenever you can, and I'm not doing a great job of this today because I'm in a different location than usual, but you want your light to be coming from in front of you and not behind you. I'm a bit backlit here, you can see, which is not ideal. But if you have natural light coming at you, if possible, from the front, it'll really illuminate you in a way that is going to be better and show off your features, which Bert you're doing a great job at. I remember when the pandemic started, my desk had been against a wall in a corner of my room, and I reshuffled everything to put my desk against the window. And I think that's nice for your mental health to be able to see the outdoors, see the sun, see a bird flying by, but also you just look better on camera with that lighting. So thinking about your setup in that way. The second thing is thinking about eye contact. And one funny thing that you've probably realized, and we've all realized, is we've gotten so used on video to seeing people not looking at us when we're talking. If I'm looking like this, I'm looking at you, Purnima, right now, but I'm not actually, it doesn't feel like I'm looking at you. It feels a bit less like that. I'm looking kind of down. So if I really want to be talking with you, I instead look up at the camera. And the camera is that little green dot often at the top of your computer screen. And this really feels like I am talking to you. Does it feel that way?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And thank you for pointing that out. That is like the most, because I naturally land up looking at people. This is such a beautiful thing that you told me. Now, it feels a little weird. It'll take me a long practice to do this because it's not very easy to look at camera and talk. Ooh.
No, it's
Yeah.
not very easy, and I think we're used to it too. I'm curious about what that means for how we communicate in the long term. I think I was talking to my grandmother yesterday, and she never really looked at me, but I knew that she was looking at me on screen. So it's fine, obviously. But I think if you're giving a presentation, for instance, or if you're really trying to really hammer home a point, being able to do so while looking at the camera can really convey your message. And this goes back to what people learn when talking in TV interviews. You're always looking directly down the line of the camera. And when I first started practicing this, I just put a sticky note next to my camera that pointed at the camera. So I remember to look at it. So there may be small tricks like that. That's another thing which honestly I find very useful. Is if I'm giving a presentation, I will cover my computer screen with sticky notes on any given side so that I basically have created a teleprompter for myself in a very low-key way. So you can be scrappy like that. So eye contact is another thing. And then the final one is your energy. I think we say this a lot when coaching people on TV, but you talk in ways on camera that may not feel natural in person. I enjoy smiling, but the fact that I'm smiling so much when I'm talking is something I learned over time talking in TV environments. If you watch a TV news anchor, unless they're delivering on a very serious topic, so maybe if you're watching a talk show host, you'll see that they smile at the beginning of their sentence, they smile at the middle and at the end. And this might feel odd if we were just having a conversation around a table, but on camera, I think it actually looks pretty natural and it makes you look really engaging and friendly in a way that otherwise may not be as easily conveyed because we don't have all of those inputs that we'd have in a normal setting of being able to understand what's your body language like? How are you coming into this? Are you warm? Are you not? So being able to really exaggerate that, especially meeting people for the first time, I think doesn't feel as exaggerated to the audience as it might feel to you.
Thank you, Michelle. And I really liked your point. Obviously, all three were great points. Especially, you made me look at our environment is actually our outfit. It's, how we would, if we went for a meeting in person, we would make sure that we are dressed for the occasion. And now this becomes our outfit. And we need to make sure every time we are doing it that it's matching with what we are doing. Yes.
I love that way of thinking about it. And there are days where you don't want to get dressed up and you just want to wear sweatpants. And this is true before all of this. Don't want to put makeup on. And it's okay to not really care about your outfit. That's totally fine. But I also think that there are days where we love dressing up, and you can apply that to your environment too. If you feel like it, I know for St. Patrick's Day in March, when things were bad in New York City, I put on a funny costume and had tons of green in my background because to me, it was a way of making me excited to get on this call. And it sparked a bit of joy on the other end. And I think coming into the holiday season, it could be another fun opportunity to just have a bit of fun with it and consider it dressing up and see what kind of reaction you get from colleagues who are used to the same kind of routine day after day. I do think there is a way to make it creative, make it exciting in the same way that a fun outfit might be.
Yeah, I love that. And I can now see, now that you mentioned it, I do notice that your top that you're wearing is kind of holiday-ish. It's like it gives holiday feels.
Some days it's fun to dress up, it's December. I'm ready.
Yeah. And I have, I am obviously not an expert, but I have also noticed that you can, if you have a good lighting, you can make do without makeup because good lighting makes your skin look so beautiful and you just don't need to wear makeup and you'll just look fine.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm excited about for what this has done for how we work is I think that we have become used to kind of seeing beyond that superficial. We're talking a lot today about presence and appearance, and all of those things are important. But I also think that we should be able to wear whatever we want. You should be able to wear makeup or not to work. And that should be the case no matter what. And I agree that good lighting can do that. But I also think that welcoming people into your space and into your life and being more flexible with each other during this work from home period, I'm hoping that flexibility and authenticity is something we keep for a long time.
I agree with you. And I had a little thought, but it just went away. Let's go to our next question. And reminder to all of you who are listening, please keep on writing your questions if and when you have questions. I'm going to take one question that Katie asked some time back. She was talking about Zoom fatigue. She was asking about how do you, there it is. Because she is with Empowered Women series, she sent this message through the channel, but that's Katie. How do you combat Zoom fatigue?
Yeah, Katie, I think this is the $1 million question because we're all feeling this on some level. And I think it really depends, first of all, and this sounds maybe a bit, it may be too in depth, but like ask yourself, like, where is the Zoom fatigue coming from? I think for me, often it's just staring at a screen for 8 hours all day. I feel like all I do is move from the medium screen to at night, the big screen. I'm on my phone, the little screen, and your eyes just get strained. And it's just simply a physical reaction to being in front of all of this strange lighting. And then I think the answer is you just need fewer screens. And Purnima, we've talked about this briefly, but I'm a big proponent, when you can, of doing a phone call instead of a video call. And especially with friends, I found it to be so nice to say, let's scratch the Zoom. I want to go for an hour-long walk, and I'll talk to you on the phone. And this friend call I may have been not dreading, but thinking, why am I doing another hour of video, becomes a really nice opportunity to talk to a loved one, but also do something that gets me out of the house or out of what I was doing before. So really giving yourself flexibility to push for phone calls or think about ways to really use the time between video calls. I know a habit I've been trying to build, but it's taking some time, is it's so easy between video calls when you have 5 minutes to think, I should just do 5 minutes of email. And there are some times when you probably do need to do 5 minutes of email, but I try to tell myself, like, how urgent actually is this email? Would I be happier if I just took 5 minutes and read a book or went for a short walk or made a cup of tea? And giving yourself flexibility to do that, because we just can't stare at a screen all day. And then the second piece is Zoom fatigue coming from a sense of resignation or just feeling stuck. And I think that's where forcing yourself when you can to try to be a bit creative or to just be flexible. And if your cat's walking around, like lifting your cat into your lap, like having someone from your family, if they run into the Zoom camera, it's okay. And we've all gotten to this point and had these conversations with friends. But I think reminding ourselves that this is a weird moment and it's okay to be a bit weird in it can be fun. So also enjoying that, or putting on some new lipstick. I mean, All of these things to me, I think forcing myself not to stick in the exact same habits has been a struggle, but I do find that it's incremental improvements to my mood. But I'm curious, Purnima, to hear what you think.
I do all those things. I I have a feeling that we have talked about this before, and I try to take long walks. And when I take long walks, I listen to books on audibles and podcasts, and not work related podcasts. My personal favorites are true crime stories, and that's what I listen to. And that is the best time of the day. And obviously, working out, which I
Mhm.
dance for a workout, which is also a fun time. And it is after you talked about it, I did realize the thing about medium screen to big screen to tiny screen and just going from screen to screen. And I'm going to be like slightly after listening to you, I'm going to be slightly mindful of that. Like you can see that now I can look at the camera and talk. How cool is that? Does it look natural to you, Michelle?
It does. And the funny thing is, though, if you're going to look at the camera and talk, I, of course, probably look like I'm not looking at you because I'm looking at you on the screen to see it. But I do feel like it does feel different to me. And
So,
obviously, we're all learning through this, and none of us are going to get it right every week. And Apple sends me my phone usage every week. And I think, how did I possibly spend this much time on my phone during the day? Um, but I think it's just, a work in progress.
yeah, because right now I'm trying a few things. As in when you're telling things, I'm trying a few things. It's easier to talk to camera, but it's not easy to listen to camera because I do want to look at your expressions, your face, and what you're saying. So maybe we listen by looking, but when it's your turn to speak, you speak to the camera. How about
I
that?
think that's a really interesting point. And I also think that there are different venues of talking, right? Like I keep on mentioning, if you're giving a presentation, it's different from if we're just talking about a project and checking in on the status update. And here it might be more casual to begin with. I could probably sit back in my chair. I might be playing with my hair or whatever. But if I'm actually presenting to you and really want to persuade you of something, then it matters more that I'm taking up more of the screen, that I project confidence, that I seem to be really focused on the message I'm delivering. So it's the same medium of Zoom, but what we're communicating and trying to convey can differ dramatically, just as it would in the workplace. So finding different modes for different moments.
Yeah, it's like having a whole new different world, but a world inside your screen. So it depends on like if you were hanging out with friends at a restaurant, you would be different from you in a presentation call, you in a project management call. Yes. Now tell me three things that I should not do.
3 things not to do. I think that we could almost factor them into the same categories as 3 things you should do, right? Your environment, the energy that you're bringing, and then simple things like eye contact or maybe your posture. So with regard to the environment, I think you want to be somewhere where we can see you. And this seems obvious, of course, but I think we've all been on plenty of Zoom calls where the lighting is off, or it's either too bright from a lamp, or it's way too dark, that I can't see your facial expressions. So making sure that you have good lighting, and lighting can totally change. It's not perfect. I also think that it depends on the situation. Some days it's fine to just have fine lighting, casual meeting. There have been moments where it's a late presentation and I don't have natural light, and I'm moving a lamp to be behind my computer to have more light onto my face, and trying that out ahead of time to make sure that I feel like I look good, because if I feel like I look good, my confidence also goes up in that moment. So really paying attention to that. And also thinking about what is in your background, and what is kind of what are you conveying with it? If it's something in a professional moment, you may want to move the bottles of wine from behind you if you're giving something that's a really kind of big interview, for instance. Or you may want to reconsider being in front of the poster that is really, really busy and distracting and beautiful, but I'm paying less attention to you because there's so much going on behind you. So in moments you really want the focus to be on you, trying to eliminate the clutter from your background. And also eliminate the clutter from even how you present yourself. I love this blouse. If I were interviewing for a job, I probably wouldn't wear it because it's catching some light in interesting ways. It's a bit more textured. I'd go with something more simple so that the entire focus is on me and what I'm saying. And same thing for my hair, my jewelry, my makeup. I think if you really want the focus to be on your message, especially now when you're not seeing so much of me, the environment and what you're wearing matters more. So simplicity is generally, it's why you see people on TV, they're in front of a blank backdrop and they're wearing blue or red or green, but never stripes, never a crazy pattern. And that's because they've learned what'll keep your attention on what they're saying. So that's
Michelle will be back in a moment. She has this little weird thing where her internet goes off.
energy. Am I
You're
back?
back? Yes, you're back.
Great. So I was moving on to the second point. Did you hear the end of our first one? Great.
Yes.
So I think 2 is your energy and posture. If I'm talking to you like this and I'm kind of in the bottom of the screen, there's a bed behind me and I don't really want to be here and there's 3/4 of the space is taken up, I think it just feels very different, right? It's casual, which could be fine. But very simply, if I'm moving like this and my feet are on the floor and I'm not shuffling my leg up onto my chair and down, it definitely feels more professional. So just understanding the ways in which you may want to shift your posture to meet the moment. And finally, I do think that on video, to the point you mentioned about listening well, we do need to convey more with our faces or with our hands. I think especially in new relationships, if you're starting a new job, for instance, or not necessarily close to the person you've been talking to, really emphasizing in your voice, your tone, and your facial expressions what you're conveying is helpful on video because we only have so much that we're going off of. So whether that means smiling or speaking more slowly or pausing for emphasis, I think that all of that is more important than ever and definitely takes a lot of practice.
Especially pausing for emphasis. We are so eager to convey our thoughts that we don't give space for silence. It took me a lot of practice to be comfortable with someone else's silence when they are speaking. And I am going to work on my silence when I'm speaking. Are there any insider hacks or tips or tricks that you would say that we should do? I know you covered a few, like use a ring light when you don't have a light. Use try to hide the stuff behind you. Anything else?
I think that one thing people don't think about, and I don't do this all the time, I'll be honest, but I did it for this and for presentations that I feel are more important, is thinking about the elevation of your laptop. My laptop, if I didn't have it on a stack of books, would be, I guess, oh, now they're all falling, would be way down here. And so I'm kind of looking down at the camera. And it doesn't feel, it's again, more casual, and that's fine. But if you want it to be really at eye line, having a stack, for me, it's a stack of National Geographics, which are toppling, and notebooks. It's not fancy. If you have a big textbook, I think you might have this too, Purnima, in your setup. You end up raising to eye level, which can be helpful for better filling the frame and feel more professional. Is this something you love?
Yes, I use puzzle boxes.
Perfect.
There's one here right now. I don't know. Sometimes, I need 2 boxes. Sometimes I need 1 box. So I just keep them handy. And 1 box makes it easy for me to type on it because right now, while I'm talking to you, I'm also managing comments. So it's easier for me to type while talking to you. If it were just speaking, I would take 2 boxes.
Mm-hmm. Well, and having them next to you where you can easily move those around. And something as simple as this is not a professional setup. I have magazines, you have puzzle boxes. There are things we all have at home that you can very easily have near your computer. So I think that I mentioned earlier, having post-its next to your computer screen. When I've given TV interviews, I did just that, where I want to be looking at the camera, but I also know that I might need a reminder of my next point. So I just put 4 post-its at the top there. So I'm not referring to my notes even. I'm just constantly, it looks like I'm looking at you the entire time, but I have that nice kind of memory cue. So that's another thing that I love reminding people to do.
I have a last question. And if you have any other questions, those who are listening, if you have any other questions, please keep those coming. And if you are listening to our recording, you can very easily put your questions in the comments. I'll make sure that I will get back to you. And there are questions that if I cannot answer, I will get in touch with Michelle and have her answer those. So whether you're listening to a recording or now, please ask your questions. And this is my last question. It's really sometimes people, like, you see a problem with person that you're talking to, and it makes it very difficult to talk to them. Like, sometimes you see just the ceilings, sometimes you see just the top of their heads, and sometimes the window is behind them, you can't see their face at all. Is there any nice way of telling them?
I think we've all been there. We've all done these things too, right? I'm sure there are moments where my hair is sticking out all over the place and there's something really distracting in my background that I haven't realized yet. So I think in this new world we're all in, having that flexibility of giving feedback. And I think, a couple of things. One, if this is a person it should be, hopefully you can say, I'm so sorry. By the way, your camera is pointing in this direction. Can you refocus it? Or just like you would in person, like, Michelle, you've got something in your hair. But I think in other settings where it might be less comfortable, in the business setting, I think, again, it's just about giving that feedback in a way that is going to be constructive and not make that person embarrassed and feel trapped on camera. So it might be something like saying, I sorry to interrupt you. I think your camera might be out of focus, or there might be something wrong with your computer. I think if it's easier to just be passive and blame it on technology, we're all blaming things on technology these days. So that is always an out that I take. Otherwise, I know in giving feedback on how people appear on camera, I often will say, that was great. You could make it even stronger by doing this. Or next time, I would consider that, the way that I, as your audience, am understanding what you're saying or how you're conveying yourself is this. I think I, as your audience, coming at you from camera, it's different than a usual presentation. What you did would work perfectly in a conference room, but the way that I'm understanding it here is this. And I think in this particular format, it would be more effective to say it this way, or to slow down, or to move that, light from the back of you to in front of you. And just making it about how to be even more impressive rather than this is a really weird thing going on your screen.
I love that. I'm going to try it. And if I lose friends because of that, lose friends or business because of that, it's on you.
You won't lose me. I'd love your feedback.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Here is, everyone who was listening to you did really enjoyed your conversation, and a lot of them are impressed with you. So here is one of the compliments that you have received, which is, these tips are so helpful, and it's even more powerful because you are exemplifying all of them as you speak. You are definitely an excellent communicator, Michelle. This is from Carolina.
That's such a kind thing to say, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm so grateful to everyone who listened in. I look forward to hopefully seeing so many of you on Zoom.
And if you have any follow-up questions, I am available, and Michelle is also available whenever she gets time in between her classes and her busy schedule. She will be happy to answer your questions. And if you ever want any feedback on your presence, please reach out to us. Please reach out to us. We want all of you to achieve whatever that is you want to achieve via your Zoom calls and want to be useful to all of you. And with that, Michelle, because there are no questions here now, we can say goodbye.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you. And this is our, 1 second, I have to show something else. 1 second. How do I, it's so difficult. Yeah. Technology. Blame it on technology. Technology did it. I'm not messing up anything. Technology messed it up. Okay. And next time, uh, not next Wednesday, but following Wednesday, we are going to have a circle, which is really cool. Michelle would love to have you in one of those circles. And we are going to, in this time circle, we are going to talk about planning in 2021. It's already December, so we are going to start talking about how to plan, and not just planning in terms of writing calendar, a holistic planning of your mind, body, career, and life, and everything else. So you're welcome to join Michelle, and everyone else who's listening. Please reach out to us. You know where to reach out to us. You can follow us on Empowered Women series, or you can join the private group called Empowered Women Squad. Join the squad, and we can talk about such topics and talk to amazing women like Michelle. Thanks again, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. It was great talking to all of you.
And with that, the end.